Hey everyone, today we're looking into connecting AWS EC2 instances into Azure using Azure Arc, specifically using the multi-cloud connector. This basically lets you manage your AWS, your on-premise, your GCP resources directly from Azure. And it gives you the opportunity to manage the governance, the tagging, the monitoring, the updates, the patching, security, all in one place within inside Azure Arc. Now, looking at the way customers are set up today, they're set up in a hybrid model. They've got a multi-cloud strategy. And this is a really nice way of bringing that all together in one holistic view. Before we dive into setting up the connector, I want to show you the control panel here. You can see I've got one agent connected, and that machine is showing connected as well. So in our AWS environment, I've got this EC2 instance, 8B11, and it's Arc enabled. And the way I know it's Arc enabled, if I go into the machines here, it's showing the Arc agent status connected. Now, why would I do this? If I've got an AWS environment, got maybe some infrastructure in GCP as well as Azure, it's really difficult to manage those three clouds simultaneously. So that's where Azure Arc comes in and lets me manage those resources as if they're native Azure resources. So looking at this machine here, it gives me a really nice overview of what's going on with this machine. You can see it's the cloud provider is showing AWS here. But if I look down on the pane here, you can see it gives me the opportunity to look at the activity log. And you can see all of the activity logs and the control plane actions on this EC2 instance is sitting on AWS. You can see someone has created a policy on it, for example, 40 minutes ago, and it was initiated by this person here. Also, I can look at the access control. So I can look at the built-in roles. I can see who has access to that EC2 instance, even though it's not a native Azure resource. I can also look at the tags, see what tags have been set up on it, really a governance 101. I can look at the security. If we can set up these EC2 instances to have Defender for Servers enabled on it. As you can see here, I have this set up, but I can look at the recommendations, any security recommendations that's advised from a best practice perspective. If I look at the extensions as well, Azure Arc lets you deploy extensions to those EC2 instances, just like your Azure VMs. So you can enable these with inside Azure Arc. You can see I've already got 2 enabled here. If we go into add, it will give you the opportunity to add more based on what it is that you want. Policies, you can set up policies with inside your EC2 instances as well, and look at the compliance of those EC2 instances against the standards that you're trying to adhere to inside your organization. And then the updates, which is another really important piece for a lot of customers, trying to make sure that the updates are set up on all machines can be quite difficult. You can see here, you can look at the recommended updates, which are shown down here. You can see the historical updates would have already been assigned and updated, and you can look at the scheduled updates that maybe you wanted to create a maintenance schedule inside your environment. Up at the top here, it's exactly the same way it is for an Azure virtual machine. You can set up scheduled updates, you can set up a one-time update. So a really nice area to look at from a holistic view of all your infrastructure machines. Down here as well, it gives you the option to run queries in the logs that maybe your machines are generating, as well as the monitoring of those machines, the metrics as well. So that's a little overview of why you would use Azure Arc from a hybrid perspective. If we go into our Azure Arc environment and we want to set this up from a user's perspective, completely new. Maybe we've got more machines that we wanted to Arc enable inside our environment here. We need to first set up the multi-cloud connector. And this basically creates the link between your Azure and your AWS account. Azure needs this connector so it knows which AWS account and region to communicate with. So you're going to create the AWS connector up here. Exact same template as usual with inside Azure. It's going to look for the subscription and the resource group. We'll submit that. We'll give this Arc enabled. We choose the region and then the account. And with inside the AWS account name, you're going to put the ID with inside that environment. Once we go next, we're going to look at the solutions you want to use inside this connector. We've got three options here: inventory, Arc onboarding, and storage. We're going to use inventory and Arc onboarding, and it's the kind of it's this default template across all three. It's going to look at the AWS services that you want to continuously scan for, and it's going to look at a periodic sync. So how often do you want that scan to happen, and then the regions that is supported. We will do the same for Arc onboarding. So this is essentially to use the management pane with inside our EC2 instances. And you can see here the connectivity method is something that we want to focus on here. So you have the options here of a proxy server URL. So if you select the proxy server, you need to provide the proxy server URL to which the EC2 instance can connect. You also have the opportunity to use a gateway resource, such as an Arc gateway, to handle the connection for those Arc-enabled servers. Down here, again, we have the periodic sync, which is consistent throughout. And we'll save that, and we'll go to next. What happens here is you've generated a template which you're going to upload to CloudFormation. Basically, what this template does, it lets you create the IAM role in the trust relationship. So Azure uses that role to authenticate into your AWS account, and that's the key part here. This is basically about authentication. As you can see here, it walks you through the process. Pretty straightforward. You're going to go download the template, create a stack within inside CloudFormation and AWS. So let's just jump over here and go to CloudFormation. And you can see I've already done this, just in the interest of time. It does take 10 or 15 minutes for this to complete, guys, so just be aware. And we're going to do this with new resources. Upload the template. We're going to choose the file that we want to choose. And that will format. And in here is the name. And you can see all the parameters have been defaulted, selected. And when we go to next, it's basically going to give you all of a few options when it comes to permissions and that, but leave this all as default. We're going to acknowledge this, and it will then give us the option to submit it down here. I'm not going to submit this, but once you submit it, as I said, it takes a little bit of time for this to complete. So once you've done that, your machine should show inside your environment here. Now it won't be Arc connected, Arc enabled, because we haven't set up the agent on that particular machine, which is what we're going to do now. We're going to essentially onboard that EC2 instance to be Arc enabled. If we go up here, you'll have the option here to onboard existing machines. It's the exact same process as the last time. You're going to choose a region. In this case, I'm going to use West Europe. Connectivity method, we're going to leave this as public endpoint. You also have your proxy server URL and Arc gateway here as well. And then the authentication piece, we're going to let this manually happen in the background. You also have your tagging options. I recommend filling this in, because then this will be processed throughout any machine that's automatically uploaded. Then we're going to go to basically the script part, which is where we want to set up the machine to be Arc enabled. So at the moment, our machine is there from an inventory perspective, but it's not there from a management perspective. We can't really do anything with that machine when it looks at security or updates or patching, which is why we need to install this Arc agent on those EC2 instances. This basically unlocks the monitoring, the Defender for Cloud, the policy, the update management, all of the things that we've shown at the start of the video. And what you're going to do is you're essentially going to run this script inside the EC2 instance inside your environment or inside your server. It walks you through the whole process. Pretty straightforward. It does take a few minutes, so just be aware when you're installing the agent on that server. And then it'll associate with the agent. Once you've done that, you should have the Arc agent status connected. Now it does take 3 to 5 minutes for this particular machine. It took that duration. So yeah, just be patient, and hopefully this was helpful for you. Thank you.